Hi everyone, this is Yemi from purposefulme.co.uk. I've been doing this series based on my book, Flying High in a Polka Dot Dress. The idea to write this book came from a colleague of mine when I was working in the bank. And she said to me, all the stories you tell inspire me. Why don't you think about putting it down in a book? Because I know that people would enjoy it. It would take another couple of years before I took it seriously, and then this book was published in 2015. So I'm doing this series of videos just to share some of the stories here. Some of them I would read, some of them I would paraphrase. And the format would always be a quote that precedes that story and the lesson that that story is all about. So let's start with today's story. And there's a quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes which says, "A moment's insight is sometimes worth a life's experience." A moment's insight is sometimes worth a life's experience. I learned that just because everyone is doing it, it doesn't mean it's for you. Just because everyone is doing something, it doesn't make it right for you. Now let's go to the story. My brother and I learned quite early on in life that you shouldn't follow the crowd, and that just because something is popular does not mean you should agree with it. Daddy lived this principle, and it always came across in discussions with his friends, families, and colleagues. We would listen and watch him hold his own, even when it was obvious that everyone did not agree with him. Occasionally, I would think to myself that it would be easier to go with the flow, especially if someone was purposefully being obnoxious. But Daddy always found it easy to make the person see the errors of their ways. The one thing that truly reminds me of this was his approach to drinking. He was never a big drinker. And even though we had the odd bottle of schnapps and Dubonnet at home, he only ever had just a little at a time. And he would even occasionally let us try it, which was great, as it meant that alcohol had no intrigue for me growing up. And that came in handy as I grew up. I never got into the habit of drinking, and I never became overly drunk. Well, let's get back to Daddy's drinking, or the lack of it. He was exclusively a social drinker, and he would take his time over a glass of beer, even with his friends. They would get through half a dozen glasses before my father would finish half of his first glass. We often wondered how he kept this going, as his friends ribbed and riled him, trying to get him to drink faster to keep up with their pace. In their ploy to get him to drink more and faster, they would order him fresh drinks, which just sat on the table and were often either finished by his friends or cleared away by the staff. I remember quite clearly the day he decided to stop completely. He said that given that he never enjoyed drinking, he would stop entirely with no exceptions. When his friends came round, as they often did, my father ordered a round of drinks for them and none for himself. They tried to get him to join, but he continued to say no. We kept observing him day after day. The days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and then soon it turned into years. And none of his friends got him to drink in all that time. I was quite impressed as I saw him hold out as friend after friend failed in their attempt to get him to drink. Some of them would threaten not to have anything themselves if he refuses to join them, and he would merely shrug his shoulders, indirectly saying, "That's your business." These were often empty threats as the friends continued to drink even when they could not get him to join them. It soon became the new norm for them, and we all got used to the new father, the complete non-drinker. Most importantly, I learned to stand up for my beliefs and decisions, even if they went against the grain and the expectation of others. And over the years, I've had plenty of opportunities to remain unpopular because I refuse to go with the popular opinion. Having the boldness and the audacity to do that came from some of these early experiences. I hope this story has challenged you, inspired you, and if there are ways right now that peer pressure is an issue for you, or trying to fit in is an issue for you, then I want to encourage you with this story and remind you that just because everyone is doing it, it doesn't mean you have to join it. You always have a choice. You can always exercise your right to say no. No to drugs. As a Nigerian, no to ashwabi. No to food you don't want. No to drinks you don't want to have. You have a right to say no. Thank you for watching this. Have a great day. And as with everything else, just a reminder that this story is one of many stories in this book titled Flying High in a Polka Dot Dress, and it's available on Amazon worldwide, either as an e-version or a paperback version. And you can also subscribe to my weekly blog on purposeswimming.co.uk. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.